Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
Cyanide.
Oh.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the ASOTV podcast for Containment season only. Episode 13, the finale, Path to Paradise. I'm your host, Dom. With me is Nikki, Kim, and Mike. How's it going? Yeah, I asked you how it was going, not how you liked the episode. How's it going?
It's going well.
Fine.
How'd you guys like the episode?
Sad and lackluster.
There was no Wolverine. There was no Spider-Man. It was disgustingly stupid.
Sad for multiple uses of the word, and lackluster.
Yes. Taking my word.
Yeah.
For me to be serious, yes, I was disappointed.
Yeah.
In a good part of the episode.
I think we all were.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they left a little bit of it open.
They did. Well,
They totally did.
Here's the thing. The show was recorded in December. Like, it was completely done filming in December. And it was all done, the entire season was done edited by February.
So before they heard that they weren't going to be a second season, even though they're a limited event.
When Julie took on the show, Julie Plec, when she took on the show, she was not informed that it was a limited event series. So she shot this as she would any of her other shows. Okay.
Expecting another season.
Right. So, when it came time for the show to go and, the network kind of knew that they might possibly be full up, and stuff like that, moving onward, they decided they're going to bill it as just a limited event series and see how it goes. And it didn't quite get the numbers that they wanted. If they want to, they still could renew for a second season, and come back next summer. But that's not going to be the case. Network doesn't want to do it.
So it doesn't change that even as an ending episode of a season, it was lackluster.
I don't know. I'd be excited, for a finale, like for a season, like going into another season. There's a lot on the table, and hearing what Julie had in store for season 2 made me even more excited. We'll get to that at the end. So we'll talk about what actually happened in the episode first. Basically, we had the escape route collapsing, for all the people in the tunnel. Literally, escape route is being bombed, and Lex gets a hold of Sabine and is like, look, I need to get in there and get people out. Give me an hour. So he did. He goes in, all that stuff, and we find out, there's dirty cops. They're doing this stuff. They think they're being safe, but nobody's factored in the thought that maybe somebody like Thomas exists, that they're factoring out. They get that person out. They put him in quarantine. Thomas could be in quarantine all his life, and he's never going to be sick. But because of the antibodies he carries, he can get other people sick. So they can quarantine people all they want, and that's not going to stop this thing from getting out.
Nope.
So
Come to realize, we find out that pastor is one of those carriers, and he's been touching people all this time, being like, you're cured, you're clean, oh, I purify you. It's like, oh my god, you were making a good bunch of these people fucking sick.
Well,
A lot of those people were already sick.
Yeah, if you remember that episode, some of those people were cracked and bleeding out of the eyes already.
But there were people who were there that weren't sick either.
Right.
And he was touching them all over.
And I'm just like, well, God rest ye, Mr. Priesty, because you're going to die.
Yeah. Brian Griebel in chat says, I'm not a fan of the finale. It felt like nothing was resolved, and the fact that the priest had the antivirus was a little on the nose.
And I agree with everything he just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So, I like the fact that it was the priest, personally, because it's almost like, for him, a man of faith like that's basically a sign of God. You know, that I can help all these people. You know, like,
Yeah.
I am literally part of the cure, and like divine intervention, and like, you know, statistically we know it's very slim odds, and for it to be the priest, that's like a 1 in 1,000 chance. You know, so it's just kind of cool that it ended up being him.
I also really enjoy that actor. I wish he would have actually shown up more in the series. But...
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, as far as that goes, you know, Jake's whole kind of like speech in the rally and everything that he did was very, you know, like, he did that because of like the way Katie would have wanted it. You know, he did that entire speech in light of that. You know, that's how he rallied everybody together.
Yeah,
So.
he showed he inspired people to show up and, you know, give because, you know, of all the people they lost, not because of the virus.
Mm-hmm.
He changed the light of the situation.
Right. Yep. Outside of that, we had Xander and Teresa. They got engaged. Right? They gave up on the tunnels a lot sooner. They knew that it wasn't safe for the baby.
I mean, having part of it collapse almost on them was kind of a nudge in that
It wasn't
direction.
worth the risk for them.
Even if they knew their way around, yeah, the risk was way too high, especially with an infant like that.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we speculated Lex's father, like what the hell he was going to be doing, and he stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he went and found Leo and met him, and we found out this whole time. I don't remember if you said this live on the podcast or if you said it when we were watching the episode 2 episodes ago. She goes, when Lex was talking to Lammers, you said, I hope he's recording that.
I think that was me.
I know it was you, I just don't remember if it
During
was...
the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, he fucking recorded everything, and it was amazing, you know?
Dude,
Yep.
I thought she mentioned it on here because that sounds awfully familiar to me.
She could have.
Maybe.
Someone saying, I
like,
hope she was recording that.
Yeah.
Because that whole scene, you know, this couple episodes ago, struck me as odd. Like, you know, that's I don't know if I thought of that then. Like, why wouldn't you be recording that? Because that whole scene seems stupid to me. Like, Lex, you're fucking up again.
Yeah. So, you know, she's exposed for who she really is. She's caught. She knows it. There's nothing really she could do at this point.
And everybody in the room is looking at her like, the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, I think the reporter said it when after she was being exposed, everybody was listening. The reporter said that, you know, she's usually not in the public eye. She's usually in the background dealing with all the science stuff, the biology. So being forefront in the public was probably the thing that fucked her over the most because she had to make those big decisions.
Those big decisions that not everybody's going to understand and are a PR nightmare.
Yep.
Yep. You know, so she's finally exposed for what she is. So a lot of, like, the loose end kind of stuff were tied up. Like, the little threads were tied up. You know? So, like, we found somebody else for Tom, you know, instead of Thomas, because they said that Thomas alone, it would kill him. Right? So they found at least one other person. That statistically, there could be 2 other people within the Cordon that are, you know, there could be more, there could be less, you know, but statistically they're right around the 4 mark. So 2 people is, you know, is a good number to get started anyway, you know. So that was tied up, you know, the escape tunnels, they didn't make it through, but they didn't die, you know, and now we have Lex on the other side. He finally got to be with Jana, right? So that's
I feel like
something
there's a lot of an attempt is like happy endings, kind of. I mean, obviously, other than Bert.
Definitely not a happy ending because there's still the virus, there's still in the Cordon, but they did try to make it seem like, you know, for the people that we're focused on, it is happy.
Ish.
Right.
That's what I meant.
But even Bert and Michelin, in a twisted sense, had their happy death.
I don't want to talk about it.
Right?
Yeah, I
For
know.
the viewers, it's not so happy. You know, it's because they were, besides Katie, I think they were, maybe the two most loved characters on the show.
I understood. Like, okay, she was pretty much dying anyway. That was the thing.
Oh,
She was dying anyway. So she decided to go out on
Her own
her
terms.
her own terms. And
yeah.
Bert was like, "I'm not leaving you alone. You think I'm gonna?" So it was
Ugh.
sad and really sad, but
Yeah,
a really touching, loving moment at the same time.
yeah, for sure.
I may have cried a little.
I so did.
uh,
I had a
I was
towel and I
actually
put it on my face. And I'm like, oh.
I was actually really angry. I was actually really, really angry. Not because, I understood, like, from her point of view, like, yes, she's dying. She's, like, you could see it in her face. She's, like, fading right there in front of him. I was mad because, Bert, you just met your great-grandchild. For God's sakes. At least stick around a little bit longer just to see that child grow up a little bit.
To be honest, I think he would have been so depressed that he wouldn't have pulled through anyway.
There's that.
And also the fact he's in a situation where the, survival outlook, not exactly great. He's got a busted leg. He has no food. He's surrounded by a deadly virus that could kill him in the most horrible way possible. And now he just lost his loving wife of, 40-something years or however long.
Yeah, and he had no idea that Teresa Zander and little baby Leanne were going to be coming back into the Cordon. So he didn't know they were coming back. So
He had no idea where they were it made sense for him to technically do what he did.
Right. I mean, chances are he would have died of starvation, the virus, a blood clot from an improperly set leg, or the list goes on.
Old age.
Bert was adorable, that's all.
Yeah. Old age plus
both
heartbreak.
adorable.
They were the most adorable characters on this show. And, like I said, it very potentially may have been the best two characters on the show, with the exception of Katie when it came to, emotional attachment to their death. I know that in the UK version of Cordon, Katie's character died in, episode 4. They prolonged this until episode, 10 or 11 here on Containment, to build up to it. And Julie said that, at the time making the decision, it was never a question of whether or not she should do it. It was, yes, I have to do it, because it was one of the most emotional scenes that drew her to the story in the first place, which is why she did it. But after spending so much extra time with the character and doing that, and then seeing the fans and the tweets and everything afterwards, she said she had that moment of, maybe I should have sat and thought about this a little more than just went with, it has to happen. She's not saying that she would have changed it, but she's saying maybe she should have considered it a little bit more. So.
It was, for me,
it was powerful.
It worked well.
Yeah.
From any other standpoint, I don't think I would have enjoyed it. I am not a fan of the character Katie anyways, but her death did make an impact. And if it would have been done any differently, I don't think it would have made that much of an impact at all.
Yeah. Yep. But as for Julie's plans for season 2, she said we had the conflict. This was on tvline.com, by the way. She said we had the conflict at the hospital, as the entire community is waiting for the virus to die out, knowing they won't be free until it does. Dr. Kennertz comes up with a way to keep people alive, even though they're symptomatic. So there's a bunch of people diseased and able to spread the virus that he's keeping alive and healthy, but still infectious. Suddenly, these people who just 20 days ago were outraged to be placed in the cordon find themselves having to cordon off an area within their own zone so that they could potentially avoid infection from the people at the hospital. So we have a great cuckoo's nest kind of division. The hospital filled with sick and dying people versus a community of people trying to build and hold on and survive and function in functional ways by deciding what to do about the communication and law and martial law, and how to feed themselves and how to teach their kids how to be intimate with each other. All the things that you need to have when you're stuck somewhere and you're not going anywhere anytime soon. So you have that whole thing, and that would have been interesting that there's a cordon inside the cordon. You know, it's just like it's kind of crazy. You know, when you come to think about it. Brian says, when are Xander and Teresa going to find that time to get married amidst all the chaos? You know, I think it's more of a symbolism thing.
Yeah.
Than anything.
Commitment, loyalty.
But the priest who is infected.
I was just going to mention the priest. Have him do a ceremony for 20 feet away.
Yeah, could totally 4 to 6 feet and they're fine, so.
There's a baby involved. Make it 12 feet.
She also talked about how Lex would have adjusted being inside the cordon. She said the adjustment would have been complicated for him because he's used to being the guy in charge.
Mm-hmm.
He's the major, and he comes into town with less than 10 cops, where Jake has stepped into. Basically, an ad hoc mayoral role within the community and where normal law does not apply. Yet Jake is such a by-the-book guy, he would have had quite a wake-up call in terms of how to navigate within this new world. They also talked about another potential love interest for Jake, but not really. It's not in that way. So she says, we had a new lady friend that we were planning on quite literally dropping from a helicopter into the middle of the quarantine zone, but certainly knowing that it wouldn't be easy for Jake to get romantic anytime soon. But they definitely had a new scene partner for him to explore. So it was more of a just, an on-screen chemistry person for Jake than an actual love interest, so I think that would have been kind of cool.
Like a friend.
Yeah, yeah. And they said after the finale, they wanted to know what would Katie think of the fact that Quentin did not get out of the cordon at all. And Julie goes to say, we would still be rooting for an alternate exit route. Season 2 would have continued to be about ways to eventually get healthy people out of the cordon. Quentin's destiny, certainly, unless we had to Walt, which was Lost, where they kind of had the kid disappear for a while because they had no way of
growing him up.
Yeah. Unless we had to Walt him because he was growing too tall, was to make it out safely. She couldn't see it ending any other way. So Quentin's fate would have been fine. Nothing bad would have ever happened to Quentin. But then on EW.com, there was another interview with Julie, and she said that the Belgian company that made a second season of the show, so she was hoping to get to see the story continue on, but if nothing else, more people can tune in to that show now to continue to watch it. But she wanted to spend a lot of time dealing with day-to-day community building of being inside the quarantine, what it feels like to have it never kind of end, feel like it's never going to end in there, and explore what society goes through when they are essentially left to die. And then they were planning on building a really tremendous conspiracy outside of the cordon that Leo Green was going to be chasing in an all the president's men way as he continued the origins of the virus back to a big pharma company. We wanted to see what it was like for Lex to end up in a community where suddenly Jake was, for all intent and purposes, the mayor, and what conflict it would cause between those two friends. We wanted to see Jana as the mama bear queen of the community as we see people start to experiment with how we do communicate. If they can have radio, how they get messages out, how can they educate their kids, what poor Quentin is going to be like as a teenager growing up in the community, what are the other kids, are they troublemakers? They had a lot of plans, and she's super sad that they're not going to be able to tell those stories. So, it sounded like season 2 was going to be a lot of interesting kind of stuff, but
more of the same, except it seems a little more intense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the whole thing, I'd be more interested in the conspiracy theory of it all than the day-to-day in the
how
cordon.
it started and how
So
that's always the interesting part in any kind of show about diseases and stuff like this. Like there's 12 Monkeys and, even Resident Evil. We know how that started, but that's the interesting part about it.
Yeah. For this show, since it's clearly not going to continue as a TV series, I would love Julie to get a hold of some people and continue on as maybe a novel series or something,
Maybe.
I'm
So.
hoping Julie decides to take that step into the Netflix territory or, even HBO because, they definitely have the room.
Yeah, except for the fact that Julie is like the godfather of the CW right now.
I realize that, but like, I feel like her side of Containment, the Cordon thing, I think her story needs to be told because it is really intriguing and compelling, to be honest.
Well, Julie did say that she's most proud of this show than anything that she's ever done because of the limited amount of money and the amount of time that they had with this amazing source material and full creative support for it. That she was blown away by it. So much so that we have the two of the leading females, Katie and Jana. Katie's going to move over to Julie's other show, The Vampire Diaries, where everybody's hoping and praying that Jake, his character on the show, Kai, will make a return in some way, shape, or form to get the two of them to get their on-screen chemistry back together, which would be fantastic. And then we know that Jana is going to be on Julie's other show, The Vampire Diaries spin-off, The Originals. So we're still gonna get two of these characters next season that we fell in love with on this show. Not characters, but actresses. On other shows that we watch that we'll grow to love.
I'm praying for Chris Wood's character to come back in the Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, I think everybody is.
I laugh that you guys have been saying that since you guys started this show, and now it's starting to pop up other places.
Yeah,
like all these.
I started seeing it on news articles and stuff like that.
It's like, guess what? He's free.
Yeah.
It's like he could totally do it.
Well, because there was even a picture on Julie's Instagram of the actress who plays Susie sitting with the actor who plays Enzo on The Vampire Diaries. Mm-hmm. So, they're out to dinner, so it's just like, this is on Julie's Instagram. Like, is it hinting that maybe Susie's coming over too? We don't know.
There's that, but I mean, they're all a huge family. Like, when Elena came back in The Vampire Diaries just for her little audio clip, that was her, right?
Yeah, that was actually Elena. She came
went
back
to the set and they had it was like a family reunion kind of thing. That's what Julie was saying. So it's like, they're just Julie's part of the CW, or they're just one big family. So I mean, they could have easily just been out for a lunch.
And Brian says in chat, the show could always go to Netflix, and I would agree with you under any normal circumstance, but Julie, I think, is very much contracted to the CW. I don't think she can really stray from that. Because what was the other show she did? I think it was called The Tomorrow People or something.
Was that Julie?
I think she was involved in that, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to look really quick.
Julie Plec, yeah.
Yeah. And that is another show that's on the CW. So it was just like all these shows that Julie's done, they're all on the CW. So I feel like she's contracted to the CW at this point. And the CW's work so well with her. And wasn't she involved in the Matt Davis, the guy who plays Alaric on the Vampire Diaries? Didn't he have like a cult show or something? He that's why he left the Vampire Diaries, because he was on another show. I'm pretty sure Julie was involved in that show as well, which was also on the CW. So it's just like, she's involved in a lot of stuff, and almost all of it is on the CW. So no, I guess she wasn't involved in that, but so the TV shows that Julie's done, it was Wasteland and Kyle XY, both of which were on ABC. One was on ABC Family, but after that, everything she's done has been on the CW. Vampire Diaries Originals, Tomorrow People, Containment. So she also worked on Scream 2 and Scream 3.
I had no idea she did.
Yeah, well, I didn't know she was on Scream 2, but I knew she was on Scream 3. And that goes to show me right there that with the Scream TV series, the fact that Julie's not involved leads me more to believe that she's contracted to the CW.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Probably
I can
is by
sort
now.
of see the style now, like the style of Scream, the Scream shows that she's been in, kind of carry over into the other things she's done too.
Yeah. Brian says Chris Wood's going to be on Supergirl. I haven't heard anything about that. Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Ooh.
Chris Wood joins Supergirl for season 2. Wow. Oop.
Oh, well, I guess not Kai.
Yeah. That doesn't mean anything.
I know.
Joining
Just fucking
Supergirl
with you
as a
guys.
series regular season 2 this fall. You'll be playing a surprise DC character. Yeah.
Is he the one in the pod? Zip it. I'm zipping.
I don't know.
Surprise DC character.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's going to be interesting, but once again, that's part of the CW family.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, so
Surprise! I'm going to be spending all night laying in bed. Like, what surprise DC character he's going to be? He's going to be Hal Jordan.
They left Supergirl with big surprise at the very end. Actually, the whole finale was just a surprise. So he could be anybody.
He's going to be Batman.
well,
I don't know.
They're obviously
I mean,
gonna
they
do
could
like
always-
whatever and add some random shit.
they could always end like, you know, take this time to establish Katie, the actress Katie's character on the Vampire Diaries, and then have like the finale reveal be Kai, and everybody will freak the fuck out, and then we'll all be like, "Oh my god, I want season 9 more than anything." I think it's season 9. Yeah,
Wait.
because next is 8. Yeah, so they'll be like, "Oh my god, I want season 9 more than any other season of the Vampire Diaries ever." So, yeah. So
I had to like reel my head back, like rewind to remember who Kai's twin was in the Vampire Diaries.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I remember.
yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, you guys upset that we're not gonna have a season 2 at all, or like?
Yes.
Yeah, and no.
Because of the way it ended, but knowing it was all done before they got news of anything, and you know, Julie just went with it as if she were going to continue the series. I understand.
Yeah.
Um,
At least she's not remaining tight-lipped on what could have been, and that kind of brings some closure to me anyway. It's
Yes.
just like, oh, there's a bunch of, you know, she had some cool plans, and it would have panned out, but now we don't have to wait like, you know, a year and then 4 months to figure out, you know, what the hell, how it was going to play out. I mean, you know, she said ultimately find a cure, so we know that at least in season 2,
Mm-hmm.
you know, knowing that that would have been the finale, it would have been cured, and, you know, Quentin's going to make it out all right. We're going to assume Chris Wood's going to make it out okay. I was convinced that Jake was going to be a carrier. Like, I was convinced when they were going to test everybody. I thought he was going to come up as he was a carrier, and that would have made so much sense to me. But then I would have been really worried for Quinn.
yeah, because they've been tugging the last couple episodes because of Katie.
Yep. So, I don't know.
No, all in all, like, this series was fantastic.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not often, like, a series can get me to cringe and cry and just, like, you know, roll up in a ball and want to just, you know, fall asleep in the fetal position all in one. Like, all the mixed emotions and, like, the roller coaster was just I can't even.
Yeah, with the exception of the ending, I have to agree with Julie when I think this is her best work yet.
Mhm.
Like, this whole series, to be honest, I don't know if I would have watched this if this wasn't potentially something we could cover for a podcast. I feel like I would have caught it at some point, but I don't think I would have watched it live on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, I'm with same.
I feel like it's something I definitely would have caught if it hit Netflix, which the new contract with Netflix and the CW, it most definitely will hit Netflix at some point.
Yeah.
I feel like it's 100% something I would have watched when it did that. But outside of, you know, that, because knowing that Chris Wood was going to be in it, because I loved his character from Vampire Diaries, I was instantly drawn to it. But I'm like sitting there thinking, oh, he's gonna play a cop. He's gonna be like a good character. I fell in love with him as the bad guy, you know. So that's what I wanted to see. So I was like less enthused going into this show, knowing that. But for me, it just really showed him as an actor the very large variety that he can play, and I think that's great. You know.
Yeah. No, like, my intention was to watch, like, barring if we weren't podcasting, I would have had a great intention to go watch just because of Chris Wood, but I probably wouldn't have gotten around to it. Maybe I would have saw the first episode, but then forgot about it or something like that. But I'm really glad that we covered it because sticking to it was great. Like, it was a breath of fresh air because everything else is kind of out of the realms of reality, like that we watch, like supernatural things going on, like vampires and werewolves and all that stuff. Like, that's like what I watch. That's the basis, basically. Whereas, you know, even though this is a made-up, mutated strain of a virus, it's not real. It's still based in reality.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't do many grounded in reality shows.
No.
So I think that's about it. You guys have anything else? No?
Nope.
Well, I can't say anything about Marvel characters anymore because it's obvious that they're trying to bring in the DC characters. So.
Batman.
Kim, where can the people find you?
On the Twitters at HUFF52I2UFF52I.
Still not trying to be Spider-Man.
No.
No.
Mike, where can the people find you?
On Twitter at Philidrin, right here. It's got to be some big name like Batman, because they wouldn't say a surprise DC character. They just come out and say it.
I don't
necessarily.
know. I see him playing Batman.
He's playing Superman. Nikki, where can the people find you?
Man.
I can see him playing Superman.
But they'd have to shave off his scruff.
Talk. Words.
Oh, you can find me up there on Twitter at LadyVenom24, LADYVENOM24.
And you can find me down below at Phenomenon, PHENOMEDOM. You can find us all on Facebook, Gmail, G+, Twitter, and right here on YouTube at /ASOTV Podcast for some more podcasts for some of your favorite TV shows, games, and movies.
Green Lantern.
Until never again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And I said Hal Jordan 30 minutes ago. 20 minutes ago. I don't even know what the fuck time it is.
Aquaman.
Oh, God.
Oh, my gosh.